up, y'all? It's your boy Forever Cabron coming in to let you know to check out What's Hood with me, the Compa FC, where you can roll one up with a real one. We chop it up about everything, dog. Politics, hood shit, music, movies, acción, you name it, la causa, el movimiento. We want to tackle things about looking at your culture differently and all that good shit. So if you want to look into that, if you want to find some self-love and self-worth, dog, check out a compa. Roll one up with a homie, dog. Every Tuesday and Thursday, right here on Binge on this. Check a homie out, dog. Stay up late.
When I was little, my father was famous. He was the greatest samurai in the empire. My father would come home to mother, and we were happy. Then, one night, they were supposed to kill my father. But they didn't. They left his samurai's life, walked the road of vengeance, and he took me with him.
You could keep trying to solve your problems by force like you do now, but the world will keep on turning. You can't build a castle if all you've got is carpenters. First, you sharpen your plane, because when you start, that's the first tool you use. Now take your seat, boy. Starting right now, I'm going to teach you how to read.
The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. She was one of those pretty and charming girls, born by a blunder of destiny in a family of employees. She had no dowry, no expectations, no means of being known or understood, loved, married by a man rich and distinguished, and so she let them make a match for her with a little clerk in the Department of Education. She was simple, since she could not be adorned, but she was unhappy, as though kept out by her own class. For women have no caste and no descent. Their beauty, their grace, and their charm serving them instead of birth and fortune. Their native keenness, their instinctive elegance, their flexibility of mind are their only hierarchy, and these make the daughters of the people the equals of the most lofty dames. She suffered intensely, feeling herself born for every delicacy and every luxury. She suffered from the poverty of her dwelling, from the worn walls, the abraded chairs, the ugliness of the stuffs. All these things, which another woman of her caste would not even have noticed, tortured her and made her indignant. The sight of the little girl from Brittany, who did her humble housework, awoke in her desolated regrets and distracted dreams. She let her mind dwell on the quiet vestibules, hung with oriental tapestries, lighted by tall lamps of bronze, and on the two tall footmen in knee breeches who dozed in the large armchairs, made drowsy by the heat of the furnace. She let her mind dwell on the large parlors, decked with old silk, with their delicate furniture supporting precious bric-a-brac, and on the coquettish little rooms, perfumed, prepared for the 5 o'clock chat with the most intimate friends, men well known and sought after, whose attentions all women envied and desired. When she sat down to dine before a tablecloth 3 days old, in front of her husband, who lifted the cover of the tureen, declaring with an air of satisfaction, "Ah, the good bonsefoire. I don't know anything better than that." She was thinking of the delicate repast, with glittering silver, with tapestries peopling the walls, with ancient figures, and with strange birds in a fairy-like forest. She was thinking of exquisite dishes served in marvelous platters, of compliments whispered and heard with a sphinx-like smile, while she was eating the rosy flesh of a trout or the wings of a quail. She had no dresses, no jewelry, nothing, and she loved nothing else. She felt herself made for only that. She would so much have liked to please, to be envied, to be seductive and sought after. She had a rich friend, a comrade of her convent days, whom she did not want to go and see any more. So much did she suffer as she came away. And she wept all day long from the chagrin, from regret and from despair and from distress. But one evening her husband came in with a proud air, holding in his hand a large envelope. There, he said. There's something for you. She quickly tore the paper and took out of it a printed card which bore these words: The Minister of Education and Monsieur Georges Romprenier beg Monsieur and Mademoiselle Loisel to do them the honor to pass the evening with them at the Palace of the Ministry on Monday, January 18th. Instead of being delighted as her husband hoped, she threw the invitation on the table with annoyance, murmuring, "What do you want me to do with that?" "But, my dear, I thought you would be pleased. You never go out, and here's a chance, a fine one. I had the hardest work to get it. Everybody is after them. They are greatly sought for, and not many are given to the clerk. You will see they are all the official world." She looked at him with irritated eyes, and she declared with impatience, "What do you want me to put on to get there?" And he had not thought of that, so he hesitated. "But the dress in which you go to the theater, that looks very well to me." He shut up, astonished and distracted at seeing that his wife was weeping. 2 big tears were descending slowly from the corners of her eyes to the corners of her mouth, and he stuttered, "What is the matter? What is the matter?" But by a violent effort she had conquered her trouble, and she replied in a calm voice as she wiped her damp cheeks, "Nothing. Only I have no clothes, and in consequence I cannot go to the party. Give your card to some colleagues whose wife has a better outfit than I." He was disconsolate. He began again. "See here, Matilda. How much would this cost? A proper dress. What would you do on other occasions? Something very simple?" She reflected a few seconds, going over her calculations, and thinking also of the sum which she might ask without meeting an immediate refusal, and a frightened exclamation from the frugal clerk. At last she answered hesitantly, "I don't know exactly, but it seems to me that with 400 francs I might do it." He grew a little pale, for he was reserving just that sum to buy a gun and treat himself to a little shooting the next summer on the plain of Nanterre with some friends who used to shoot lark there on Sundays. But he said, "All right, I will give you the 400 francs, but take care to have a pretty dress." The day of the party drew near, and Mademoiselle Loisel seemed sad, restless, and anxious. Yet her dress was ready. One evening her husband said to her, "What is the matter? Come now, you have been quite queer for these last 3 days." And she answered, "It annoys me not to have a jewel, not a single stone to put on. I look like a distress. I would almost rather not go to the party." He answered, "You will wear some natural flowers. They are very stylish this time of year. And for 10 francs you will have 2 or 3 magnificent roses." But she was not convinced. "No, there's nothing more humiliating than looking poor among a lot of rich women." But her husband cried, "Ah, what a goose you are! Go find your friend, Mademoiselle Forester, and ask her to lend you some jewelry. You know her well enough to do that." She gave a cry of joy. "That's true. I had not thought of that." Next day she went to her friends and told her about her distress. Mademoiselle Forester went to her mirrored wardrobe, took out a large casket, brought it, opened it, and said to Mademoiselle Loisel, "Choose, my dear." She saw at first bracelets, and then a necklace of pearls, then a Venetian cross of gold set with precious stones of an admirable workmanship. She tried on the ornaments before the glass, hesitated, and could not decide to take them off and to give them up. She kept on asking, "You haven't anything else?" Yes, look. I do not know what else will happen to please you." All at once she discovered, in a box of black satin, a superb necklace of diamonds, and her heart began to beat with boundless desire. Her hands trembled in taking it up. She fastened it around her throat, on her high dress, and remained in ecstasy before herself. Then she asked, hesitating, full of anxiety, "Can you lend this to me? Only this?" "Oh, yes, yes, of course." She sprang to her friend's neck, kissed her with the door, and then escaped with her treasure. The day of the party arrived. Mademoiselle Lucelle was a success. She was the prettiest of them all, elegant, gracious, smiling, and mad with joy. All the men were looking at her, inquiring her name, asking to be introduced. All the attachés of the cabinet wanted to dance with her. Even the minister took notice of her. She danced with delight, with passion, intoxicated with pleasure, thinking of nothing, in the triumph of her beauty, in the glory of her success, in a sort of cloud of happiness made up of all these tributes, of all the admirations, of all these awakened desires, of this victory so complete and so sweet to a woman's heart. She went away about 4 a.m. Since midnight, her husband had been dozing in a little anteroom with 3 other men, whose wives were having a good time. He threw over her shoulders the wrap he had brought to come home in, a modest garment of everyday life, the poverty of which was out of keeping with the elegance of the ballroom. She felt this, and wanted to fly so as not to be noticed by the other women, who were wrapping themselves up in rich furs. Lucelle kept her back. "Wait a minute. You will catch a cold outside. I'll call a cab." But she did not listen to him, and went downstairs rapidly. When they were in the street, they could not find a carriage, and they set out in search of one, hailing the drivers whom they saw passing in the distance. They went down towards the Seigneur, disgusted, shivering. Finally they found on the quai one of those old night-hawk cabs which one sees in Paris only after night has fallen, as though they are ashamed of their misery in the daytime. It brought them to their door, Rue de Messetiens, and they went up their own stairs sadly. For her it was finished, and he was thinking he would have to be at the ministry at 10 o'clock. She took off the wraps with which she had covered her shoulders before the mirror, so as to see herself once more in her glory. But suddenly she gave a cry. She no longer had the necklace around her throat. Her husband, half undressed, already asked, "What is the matter with you?" She turned to him, terror-stricken. I have not Mademoiselle Forester's diamond necklace." He jumped up, frightened. "What? How? It is not possible!" And they searched in the folds of her dress, in the folds of the wrap, in the pockets, everywhere. But they did not find it. He asked, Are you sure? Are you sure you still had it when you left the ball?" "Yes, I touched it in the vestibule of the ministry." "But you had lost it in the street. We should have had it fall. You must have it in the cab." "Yes, that is probable. Did you take the number?" "No. And you did not even look at it?" "No." They gazed at each other, crushed. At last, Lucelle dressed himself again. "I'm going," he said. "Back the whole distance we came on foot, to see if I cannot find it." And he went out. She stayed there, in her ball dress, without strength to go to bed, overwhelmed on a chair, without a fire, without a thought. Her husband came back about 7 o'clock. He had found nothing. Then he went to the police headquarters, to the newspapers to offer a reward, to the cab company. He did everything. In fact, that a trace of hope would urge him to. She waited all day in the same dazed state in face of this horrible disaster. Lucelle came back in the evening with his face worn and white. He had discovered nothing. "You must write to your friend," he said, "that you have broken the clasp of your necklace and that you are having it repaired. That will give us time to turn around." She wrote as he dictated. At the end of the week they had lost all hope, and Lucelle, aged by 5 years, declared, "We must see how we can replace those jewels." The next day they took the case which had held them to the jeweler, whose name was in the cover. He consulted his books. "It was not I, madam, who sold this necklace. I only supplied the case." Then they went from jeweler to jeweler, looking for a necklace like the other, consulting their memory, sick both of them with grief and anxiety. In the shop in the Palais Royal, they found a diamond necklace that seemed to them absolutely like the one they were seeking. It was priced 40,000 francs. They could have it for 36. They begged the jeweler not to sell it for 3 days. They had made a bargain that he should take it back for 34,000 if the first was found before the end of February. Loisel possessed 18,000 francs which his father had left him. He had to borrow the remainder. He borrowed, asking 1,000 francs from one, 500 from another, 5 here, 3 from there. He gave promissory notes, made ruinous arguments, dealt with usurers, with all kinds of lenders. He compromised the end of his life, risked his signature without even knowing whether it could be honored, and frightened by all the anguish of the future, by the black misery which was about to settle down on him, by the perspective of all sorts of physical deprivations, and of all sorts of moral tortures. He went to buy the new diamond necklace, laying down on the jeweler's counter 36,000 francs. When Madame Loisel took back the necklace to Madame Forrester, the latter said with an irritated air, "You had to have brought it back sooner, for I might have needed it." She did not open the case, which her friend had been fearing. If she had noticed the substitution, what would she have thought? What would she have said? Might she not have been taken for a thief? Madame Loisel learned the horrible life of the needy. She made the best of it, moreover frankly, heroically. The frightful debt must be paid, and she would pay it. They dismissed the servant, they changed their rooms, they took an attic under the roof. She learned the rough work of the household, the arduous labors of the kitchen. She washed dishes, wearing out her pink nails on the grease pots and the bottoms of the pans. She washed the dirty linens, the shirts, and the towels, which she dried on a rope. She carried down the garbage to the street every morning, and she carried up the water, pausing for breath on every floor. And dressed like a woman of the people, she went to the fruiter, the grocer, the butcher, a basket on her arm, bargaining, insulted, fighting for her wretched money, sou by sou. Every month they had to pay notes, to renew others to gain time. The husband worked in the evening keeping up with the books of a shopkeeper, and at night often he did copying at 5 sous the page. And this life lasted 10 years. At the end of 10 years, they had paid everything back. Everything. With rates of usury and all the accumulation of heaped-up interest. Madame Loisel seemed aged now. She had become the robust woman, hard and rough of a poor household. Badly combed with her skirts weary and her hands red, her voice was loud, and she washed the floor with splashing water. But sometimes, when her husband was at the office, she sat down by the window and she thought of that evening, long ago, of that ball where she'd been so beautiful and so admired. What would have happened if she had not lost that necklace? Who knows, who knows? How singular life is, how changeable. What a little thing it takes to save you or to lose you. Then one Sunday, as she was taking a turn in the Champs-Élysées, as a recreation after the labors of the week, she perceived suddenly a woman walking with a child. It was Madame Forrester, still young, still beautiful, still seductive. Madame Loisel felt moved. Should she speak to her? Well, yes, certainly. And now that she had paid up, she would tell her all. And why not? She drew near. "Good morning, Genet." The other did not recognize her, astonished to be hailed so familiarly by this woman of the people. She hesitated. "But, Madame, I do not know. Are you not mistaken?" "No, I am Mathilde Loisel." Her friend gave a cry. "Oh, my poor Mathilde, how you are changed." "Yes, I have had hard days since I saw you, and my troubles, and that because of you." "Of me? How so?" "Do you remember the diamond necklace that you lent me to go to the ball at the ministry?" "Ah, yes. And then?" "Well, I lost it." "How can that be, since you brought it back to me?" "I brought you back an answer just like it, and now for 10 years we have been paying for it. You will understand that it is not easy for us who had nothing. At the last, it is done, and I am mighty glad." Madame Forrester paused. You say that you brought a diamond necklace to a place, mine? Yes, you did not notice even, did you? They were exactly as like. Oh, my poor Matilda. Mine were false. At most, they were worth 500 francs. And that was the necklace by Guy du Maupassant. Hella French, dog. Nice little twister. Nice little shorter than my last week's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If so, make sure that you guys comment on our Instagram at Binge on this channel. Or you guys can go ahead and send us an email at bingeonthischannel@gmail.com. And make sure that you guys check out the rest of our great shows on the Binge on this channel, such as Happy News with Perry Kurtz, What's Hood with FC, This, That, and the Other with your main man, Sam, and myself, Sam of All Trades, which is Sam's show, Olden Times TV, which is on YouTube, and of course our flagship show, Roll 420s, our Dungeons & Dragons high fantasy show available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, and anywhere you find your podcasts. And remember, young warriors, that we live by the blade, but we die by the book. See you next time.